All right, thank you. So many icons, so little clarity. Alrighty. Oh, great. Fun with middle age, never have the right glasses length. So, open source software, what's holding you back? Particularly for network operators of all stripes. I mean, open source software tastes great, right? It's free software. There's so much of it. It's inspectable code. You can break out a vendor lock-in. Management knows what open source software is. But it's less filling. So much of it is abandonware or egoware. There are 6 available products and none of them do quite exactly the right thing that you need to solve. There is no vendor. There's no one you can call to fix it or to customize it. You've got no cycles available to contribute, and management doesn't know what open source software is. So even so, I mean, clearly there's useful cases for operational tools to be built through collaborative open source, and preferably collaborative open source with network operators involved, rather than just randomly, somebody's great software ideas. And I'm a computer scientist, so I know about great software ideas. So it'd be good if there was operator involvement to ensure that, excuse me, requirements are understood, that it's actually usable in the end, and to prevent the wrong sort of expertise dominating the technical work. I was told I had to put a cat picture in. So, yeah. Having a look at the kinds of things, the kinds of things that are a problem for network operators engaging in development of open source software and ultimately the use of open source software. I'm putting together an actual survey. It won't be a scientific survey because I'm not a survey scientist, but it will be at least an informal survey to collect data to understand what kind of problems you might like to have solved through open source software if there were the right fit. And then what are the requirements for and the impediments to actually participating in the development of said software, contributing to the development of it, and or using it ultimately. And those are actually 3 very separate points. So what I'm doing today in a lightning talk is just trying to raise awareness that this survey is coming, but even better, I'm looking for input on what are the things I should be sure to ask about, so that your notion of why you would love to engage in it if you could, but what are your impediments? What are the things I should ask? What should I canvass? And certainly, if you would be interested in taking the survey or engaging in this discussion, that would be great. As I said, I am a computer scientist, so a pointer to somebody who's going to be willing to fill out the survey would be fine. So here are the kinds of things that I've already thought about in terms of covering in the survey, so you can see how far I have to go and how much you can contribute to me shaping this up to a more effective survey. So in terms of the scope of potential open source software, what are the problem areas that should be addressed in your view for open source software? Is it reference implementation of the network stack so that IoT doesn't break the internet? Is it reference implementations of new standards? Because that would be useful to actually see that they work. Is it tooling for network monitoring and management so that you can, break out of that hefty subscription fee every month? Or is it something completely different? Is this software that you think should exist, like the IoT stack? Is it that you want to help create software, open source software? Are you looking for something that would solve a mission critical, operations critical problem, or something completely different? What are the impediments to participating in open source software? You have no coding resources in-house. Maybe you have no attention cycles, even if you do have coding resources. What are your requirements? Maybe one of your requirements is you would like to have the option to participate in the development of requirements and the acceptance testing of OSS tools, even if you're not participating in the coding itself. Again, maybe there are other things. What are the limitations to contributing? Maybe my employer already supports one or more open source software development platforms. What was the question? Or maybe you'd love to contribute multiple $1 million to an open source platform. Maybe not. Or, you know, what is the landscape for contributing to open source software in your environment? In terms of using open source software, what are the impediments? You know, is it that you just can't find the open source tools that actually solve your problem, so you resort to buying commercial software? You don't trust open source software and you don't have the resources to inspect it. Or you don't have enough resources to validate it, figure it out, and configure it, because, you know, open source software often comes with many, many knobs. And what are your requirements for using software? For a lot of companies, I know the challenge is you want to have somebody you can pick up the phone and call, possibly 24/7, for setting it up and or debugging it in operation. What other requirements? So today's ask, as I said, really is, I'm looking for input. I'm looking on the right questions to ask to gather information and paint a picture of, you know, why are network operators not engaging today in the development and use of open source software? What are the things that could be done to reduce that friction so that we could actually, you know, have more informed OSS developed and used? And yeah, just sort of as outlined in the previous slides, it'd be useful to have some input on, you know, what are some of the possible answers and options in those questions on that survey. The survey itself is going to run in the August-September timeframe. I would like it to be August, but I recognize that August is a holiday month for many. And then ultimately, I will be publishing the results of the survey, because whatever my interests are, I know that a lot of open source platforms are struggling with this very question, and would find it useful to know what you all are thinking about these different aspects. So again, looking for input, you can talk to me now. I'll be around in and out through tomorrow, and or you can drop me a note at thinkingcat.com. And with that, any answers? Not that I have a cat fixation or anything.
Yeah, Leslie, one thing I found is the Dockers are actually a really great vehicle for bundling a bunch of helpful open source software into a network's tools package that you can simply download and run with one command, Docker run, and then have access to trace routes and T-Shark and all that stuff. And one of the things I found really helpful is that you can install that on your Mac, your PC, or up in the cloud, and the exact same tools, the exact same training is applicable regardless of where that ends up being. So that might be one of the things you might want to ask. What would be the tool set Nanog people believe should be within a Docker that's specifically for network diagnostics?
Cool, thanks. And also it points to another aspect, which is awareness raising and, you know, packaging as well. Great, thank you. Any other thoughts? If not, thank you very much.